Okay guys, so we have a bigger turnout today, so that's nice. Um, we're looking like old tri-weapon from back when like Timber and Time Bomb started. And
It's a bit bigger than that.
yeah, a little bit. So and I guess we've got camp this upcoming week. So we've done pretty well with the camps. We've had a fair number of people, but still staying within good, safe numbers. We did 4 in July. We've done 1 so far in August. We have 1 more this week, and that'll probably be our last one. We have 3 scheduled for August, but we've only got 1 person signed up for the 3rd week. And I'm assuming that's as like people are starting to get ready to go back to school and all of that. So as far as back to school goes, you guys, is everyone on the electronic up until January and then they're reevaluating at that point? Is there anyone, raise your hand if you're not on that? I know you're not, Beto, because you're homeschooled. Okay, Starman, what's your school doing?
I'm like on hybrid days, like Mondays and Wednesdays we're going to school, and like Thursdays and Tuesdays we're going to do it online. So we'll see how that works out.
That doesn't sound like an effective solution, but you're still exposed either way. Yes.
I'm going to school. I can't stay in my house. I'm not going to house with my brother. I'm going to school. I'm not going to be on the. I'm going to be in school. I'm not going to be online. I'm just going to do it from home. Do that from home. But doing it from home is easier. But going to school is better because I can see my friends in person, not on someone's phone.
Right. So, yeah, your school. Yes, I know you guys are going to be back in person, which it seems like most of the schools are doing one or the other. Starman is in some special condition where they're doing both, so that's interesting. I'm curious as to how that'll work out. All right, for those of you that are doing online, are they doing the 4-day schedule? I think that's what Baltimore County is doing. Okay. I guess most of you don't have a detailed interest in what your school is going to look like. Your school doesn't know what's going on yet. Okay. What I saw 2 days ago, as far as Baltimore County Public Schools go, is that it will be a 4-day week with 2.5 to 3.5 hour sessions online where you're like having an actual classroom session with a teacher, and then there will be other small social sessions, and then for like small groups of classmates.
Just with students and no teachers?
I assume they'll have like a teacher moderating it, and I think this is for the elementary schools. They're doing the social sessions. I don't know if the middle and high schools will be doing that, because they're doing it as like a development thing. And then I believe there'll also be small like breakout groups with the teachers online. So they'll put you in like a cluster of students, and then you'll have some more time with the teacher online in that cluster.
Yeah, that's kind of like last year, but 4 days.
Yeah, and again, I assume all levels of Baltimore County are doing the 4 days. I only saw the elementary school thing. Maybe middle and high school are doing all 5. I'm not sure. Yes, Peter.
So it maybe do that this way, but I understand something, but like it's not like a whole school, but it's like for maybe for people, just a couple people.
Okay. And that's probably still a good thing. So, all right. So it sounds like some of you have some idea what's happening, but most of you don't. So the reason I'm asking about that and bringing that up is once we have a better idea what things look like with school, then we can see if there's opportunities to do some other fencing things for you guys, to give you guys some more outlets for getting some physical activity in and getting to see like your teammates so that you still have some peer interactions, and possibly finding some other ways for you to use some of the added downtime that will exist. So we'll try to keep tabs on that, what's happening with schools. Stretch had kind of a suggestion about seeing if people wanted to come in here during the day, if there was something where there were only partial days or where people were only online. And if it sounds like if the schools are only doing partial weeks, then it may make sense to do some like one-day things or something like that on the days where people don't have school, if those days match up for people. So we'll figure it out as we go. There's not a lot for regular announcements because there's nothing happening in the fencing community right now. So I think I mentioned last week, National is still trying to figure out how they want to handle NACs and SYCs and the national circuit events, if they're even going to have them. I think they've scheduled the dates and the cities, but they have not scheduled what events would happen at them, so they're all still sort of tentative. Hold on a second, Banshee, and we'll what? Yes, you need this one. As far as the regional events, it sounds like they are starting to schedule some of the regional events, but you're only allowed to compete in your region. So we are in Region 6, which is basically Maryland south along the East Coast, so Maryland down to Florida. So that means you guys could go to a regional tournament. So if there was an RYC or a ROC, you could go to one down in Florida. You could go to one in Georgia. You can't go to one in Pennsylvania. You can't go to one in New Jersey or New York. Virginia, yes. So you can drive 8 to 10 hours away to go to one. You can't drive an hour and a half away to go to one. Obviously, they had to come up with a structure, and the regions already existed, so that was the easy structure to use. But it's not. It definitely has its flaws, and it unfortunately puts us in a position where, if we wanted to travel out of our area to any regional events, we were mostly heading to hotspot states. So, but I don't know that anyone's even going to hold regional events, like, or what's going to happen with that. As far as local events go, Capital Division has canceled all events through 2020. So Capital Division will not hold any events until 2020. Virginia Division, I think, has said that they are not sanctioning events. They are also requiring a 10-foot social distance space instead of the 6-foot social distance space, which is interesting because I think in most other countries they're only recommending 3-foot space. So Virginia Division, the way they are setting things up, you can't effectively even run a practice because you can't bout or drill if you're trying to keep 10 feet of distance. Yeah, basically you could do footwork and you could do some solo athletic drills. They are also not allowing people to go from club to club. So like, whereas here, Maryland Division has not added any restrictions beyond what the governor and the CDC have recommended. We're policing by just numbers and masks and hand washing, things like that. So we have had a limited number of people from outside of our club that we've allowed in for bouting, but we're requiring that they sign forms, they sign in declaring that they have not been exposed. We're working on doing pulse oxygen measures and temperature measures for people coming in. Hopefully that'll all be up and running this week. Yes, Timber.
Don't most like young people have it, they don't show any symptoms though?
That was the original way that they thought it was, but there have been cases with young people with symptoms. There have been cases of young people who died, like children. So it's I haven't heard that, but I mean, and it is definitely like there still is an element of like the older you get, the higher your risk is, but it's not no risk for young people. And there's still the element with young people that you guys could get it and still spread it. So
Yeah.
yeah, kids are like little petri dishes. Like you guys just run around and get everyone sick all the time anytime there's anything happening. So yes, we still want to be careful with what we're doing, and so we're being careful. We're trying to make sure that we're limiting who's coming in. It's mostly people where we kind of know them. So mostly people where they've been affiliated in some way with our club before, they've come to bouting with our club before, or we've seen them routinely at tournaments, or they're people that are being invited by club members because those club members know them. Yes?
So this means that
We're not having any kind of what?
we're not having anybody new come in?
We're limiting that. So we're not currently running a beginner's class. Like we may start one in the next month or two as school starts to kind of sort of gauge how things go, but we're still figuring that out. And we're not doing sort of wide invitations to all the closed clubs to start sending their people here. Because a lot of the clubs aren't operating right now in our division or elsewhere.
What, like, when my, what's the, what I think, they sign up for?
Mhm.
So when, so when that,
Yep. And we do have waivers and forms for people, so we are taking those precautions as well. But with that, that means things like tournaments, clinics, stuff like that, all the things we would usually announce, there's not really anything to announce. So we tried to set up an FA tournament, and it's still a little bit up in the air because some of the clubs in the division have voted no, and that usually doesn't happen. Usually clubs don't even go through the voting process, they just put their tournaments up. But right now, it's a little bit weirder. I think some clubs in some other divisions might be doing that because we are seeing some tournaments from them, but they're in divisions where their divisions are saying they're not sanctioning anything. So I don't know what those clubs are doing, but we'll see what happens. Once we start having stuff, then we'll let you guys know. There is a referee clinic happening. I've not sent out information on it yet, but they're going to be doing an online referee clinic in September. So the referee clinics, as most of you know, if you want to become a referee, you have to do an 8-hour class. You have to pass a written exam, which you do online, and you have to be observed refereeing. So there's 3 components. But in comparison to like becoming a national armorer or becoming a national bout committee person, it's way more straightforward because those, it's just kind of like people decide like, yeah, we want to work with you and move you up and put you into these things. So coaching and refereeing are the 2 straightforward certifications to get. So we do recommend that everyone kind of do one of those as a backup if you're preferring to do armory or bout committee, and so that way you have something where you can get a certification easily. With the refereeing, the nice thing with that, as Quicksilver knows, you go out to tournaments and tournament organizers pay you to come referee. So you've done pretty decently with that, right, Quicksilver? Yeah, because Quicksilver's done a couple of rocks at this point. Huh? It depends. Quicksilver, what would you say is the best you've done in a day?
Best per day, 85
85 every day? Yeah. And sometimes it depends on what you're reffing. Like, I've had some times where I've gotten hired to do saber tournaments where it's taken like 2 hours and make like $65 for that 2 hours. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. So, Stretch and I did a national circuit event the other day, or not the other day, a couple months ago, and it was about, what did it come out to, like 110 a day? Yeah. So, which is not stellar, but for like teenagers, that's pretty good. So, especially if you're not doing anything else with that weekend. So, the other thing with this online referee class, because it's online, they are discounting the price. So normally referee classes are $85, like it's a price set by the FOC. This one is only going to be $50. So for those of you who've done the class before and are refereeing and need to do like that periodic class to keep yourself fresh on it, this is a really good option for that. It's also with a different referee instructor than the ones that I usually use. So I'm not really familiar with this instructor. At least not, I may have met her before, but the name doesn't ring a bell for me. But usually we use Jeff or Brad, and this is with Lisa something. I'd have to look. So it'll give you a different perspective also than what you're used to hearing. So I would recommend considering that if you need to get a certification, or if you're just like, yeah, refereeing would be a good occasional job to do once tournaments start again. Plus, if you get your referee certification, we'll start hiring you for things to get you started, to get you some practice. So sometimes we'll hire you on like a volunteer basis where we'll give you service hours when you're kind of new. If it's a big, or if it's a smaller tournament. If it's a bigger tournament where there's more money being brought in, or if you're a little more experienced, then usually we'll hire you and pay you the regular referee rate once you're rated. So hired Quicksilver for a handful of things so far. So Quicksilver got to do one of the college meets, so that was probably pretty cool. But so yeah, so that's an option coming up. I want you guys to look at that, and I will send out emails with that information. Open bouting. We don't have regular weeknight classes right now, but we are running open bouting most nights of the week. We're just limiting which weapons are here. So it's not like normal where everyone comes every night that they feel like it. We're doing Mondays have foil and saber, Tuesdays have epee, Wednesdays have saber, and Fridays have foil and epee. So Thursdays, Coach BJ has a night off. So as things get busier and we start getting more people back in, then I will probably start doing Thursday nights again. Well, yeah, but I also have camp every day. So we've got those different weapons. Right now, Saber is having very light turnouts. Like Beefy has shown up twice, and Lazarus and Bandit showed up one week. When we first rolled it out, like before we really reopened, we did like a test run with the captains and the club officers and like a couple of other guys that were doing additional lessons. And we had Rocky, we had Crypto for Saber, but Saber's been pretty light. So Saber guys, we do have open bouting for you. It is small numbers, so you don't have to worry about having a whole bunch of people in here. And one of your nights is a night where it's only Saber, so that's going to keep the numbers even smaller. So you guys should look at that. For foil, you guys have a pretty amazing opportunity on the open bouting. Like Beatles come and taking advantage of it a couple times. I think Timber's come and taking advantage of it. Watts, Bullseye has. Quicksilver was in here once. Quicksilver had his first bout against an A-rated fencer last week, I think, or the week before, and he lost, but he lost 5-4 after having the lead for a while. So, and the particular A-rated fencer it was, based on the new division points list that we're working on, is the #1 foil fencer in the division. So that's kind of the benefit of the open bouting, is with the clubs being closed and a lot of people looking for places to fence. We're one of the places that some of the foilists have asked about coming to fence prior to all of this, and so now some of them are coming here for bouting. So this week was a little light because we had the hurricane on Monday, and then just last night ended up not being a lot of people for some reason. But most other weeks we've had a couple B's, a couple A's, some C's. So it's basically Div 1 bouting night. Like, it's actually that we're not getting a lot of people who are under Div 1. So we'd like to see more of you guys coming and taking advantage of that. Beetle got in and got to fence with Squeak, I think. Squeak is an A-rated foilist. No, Squeak's an A. Yes, you fenced Squeak. You also fenced Josh. Josh is a C. Yes. But that particular C rated foilist, he started taking lessons here last night and is signed up as an associate member, so we're going to see him pretty much every Monday and Friday. So yeah, so you guys have a good opportunity to fence a bunch of Div 1 foil guys in addition to just Stretch and Amir. So take advantage of that foil, because that's something that our foilists have not had in the same way that the epeists have had. Like, our epeists always have Div 1 guys to fence because you've got Coach Mike, Coach Eric, Coach Douglas, Dr. Chris, Dr. Elliott, like Coach Greg, Coach Chris, like the majority of our epee guys, like Mr. Yuri, Coach Logan, almost all of them are Div 1. So we have a huge Div 1 presence in epee that a lot of clubs don't have. So our epee guys always get to take advantage of that. Foil, the only real adult foil that we usually have is the college kids. So, and a lot of you guys have as much or more experience than them. So you guys have missed out on that. Saber, we don't have a ton of Div 1 Saber guys, but we have a lot of experienced Saber guys. Some of them have more experience under their belt than I have years of life under my belt. So Saber has had like a pretty deep pool of experience to draw from too. Foil, this is where you guys finally get that. So you guys need to come take advantage of it as best as you can. Especially those of you that are trying to get good, trying to go out and be competitive. You want to be out there fencing these guys as much as you can, because, so Quicksilver, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. Obviously you get to fence with Stretch a lot, but did you notice that getting to fence with those guys showed you other stuff you have to think about, and like other ways you have to move as far as your speed goes? Yeah, so it's a difference, and that's part of moving up to that next level, is fencing people that are at that higher level, who are routinely fencing those national circuit events. Because while you might have all the same ideas and all the same actions, if you're not used to fencing at that speed, if you're not used to fencing at that timing that is common there, then you're going to be a little bit behind. So your options are either get those people in to fence and bout with you at practice, or go out to a bunch of tournaments and fence them there at those tournaments regularly. And the tournaments are the way that a lot of people have to do it, but right now you guys have the opportunity to do it in practice, where you're not having to go pay a couple $100 to travel to St. Louis for an act or something like that. The other thing with the open bouting night, that is when I'm doing your lessons. So those of you that want to get back into taking your weekly mini lesson, or those of you that are paying for the extra lessons and want to get back in the routine of doing those, that's when we'll do them, is on the open bouting nights. So like Beetle was here Monday and Friday. He got his short lesson on Monday, and then his full lesson on Friday. What was that, Beetle? Sounds good. And every time Beetle's here, he's like, "Where's Mouse? I need to fence Mouse." Or Lantern. So, so now you got Mouse here today. So be happy. Yes, Banshee.
Some days on the streets, but sometimes I told my mom, can I take this back riding? So they said I have to go this summer, or go sometime on the school. So they said those days might be the best.
Okay, cool. So, but yeah, we want to make sure you guys are getting your lessons in. So try to be here for bouting so we can do that, because at some point things will be normal, and we'll start having tournaments again. We'll start having competitions, and if you guys want to do well at those, you got to be ready. Now is also a really good time for those of you that have been on the fence about taking extra lessons, or who've been thinking about it but haven't been ready to take the plunge. Your school schedules are probably going to be a little bit easier with the online schooling. Like You're gonna have more downtime at home where you can get homework out of the way, and probably where you'll be more rested and relaxed. So that'll make it easier for you to come out and do your fencing lessons. I have more free time and I'm here a little bit more now, so I can schedule them. Once camp is over, I can start scheduling them earlier in the evening too, for people who need a slightly earlier time. So if you are interested in that, talk to your folks, because like the new student that I'm working with, like his father was like, what should his schedule look like? He's like, well, if he's looking to go out and compete regionally or nationally, at a start, he needs at least 2 lessons a week and 2 to 3 nights of bouting a week. Probably should be doing more than that once things get going and once he's back to like trying to get into competition. So those of you that are looking to get onto the regional circuit stuff and eventually onto the national circuit stuff, that's really what you need. The once a week 10 minutes is not going to do that. That's going to be enough to get you through the chart, and that's about it. Those of you that remember when Impulse was here, how often was Impulse here taking a lesson? Yeah, 3 or 4 nights a week. And sometimes he was here fencing 4 or 5 nights a week, plus doing Saturday. So we're not saying you guys need to be on that schedule, but Impulse was trying to do national circuit stuff. And so that was why he himself decided to do that schedule. That was from him. So you don't necessarily need that, but 2 lessons a week, maybe 3, and fencing 2 to 3 nights a week. That's kind of the minimum you want if you want to be out there doing like real competitions. So, okay, so that I think covers like announcement type stuff. So again, basically we'll figure out what things look like as school gets started. There's no real tournaments right now, and we don't know what's going on with that. There's a referee clinic coming up, and you guys have the open bouting and lessons. I think, was there anything else we really covered there that I missed on the recap? Wednesday is Saber. Wednesday is Saber. So yeah, so we don't have the Wednesday class. Right now we just have the Saturday class. Oh, also you guys can do FIA's weeknight Zoom classes. So we've invited FIA to participate in TWC Saturday class for any of the FIA fencers that are comfortable coming in and physically doing class. I know some of them, because of like their parents' jobs, they are a little bit less likely to be out and about. But we wanted to make that opportunity available for them. So you guys will be welcoming in FIA temporarily if any of them choose to come. You guys have also been welcome to join their class. Their coaches have asked that we send out the links to you guys. So I sent out their Monday night link last week. This week I'll make sure to send out their Thursday night link. They're keeping the same link every week. So whereas we were changing our link and our password every session for Zoom, they're keeping the same one so that it's easy to do. And so they're using a different security measure to keep the class filtered. So you guys are able to do that. You're encouraged to do that. Coach Drew is mostly running it, and it's mostly like footwork and conditioning stuff. So stuff that'll be good for you to do in addition to the stuff we're doing